Today we've got a real treat for you. This 1967 Triumph TR4A. Now this is the same car you see across videos on my channel, and when I purchased this car, I can tell you I didn't plan to make a single video about it, but it has been so much better than expected. Now more about that in a minute. Standard Triumph had found success with the TR3, but by the late 1950s was looking to update the aging TR series. They hired famed Italian designer Giovanni Michelotti, and in 1961 a radical new body was mated to the TR3A's frame, chassis, and engine. The TR4 was born. The car you see today is a 1967 TR4A. Introduced in 1964, the A included many updates over the TR4, such as a widened front and rear track, side marker lights with chrome, an updated dash, and an optional independent rear suspension. The TR4 and the TR4A, as well as the later TR250 in America and the TR5 in Europe, had a bubble in the bonnet. Now the bubble is quite stylish and it's really a favorite of many of those who own this car. But it actually had a functional reason for being there. And the functional reason, as we pop the hood, are these twin SU carburetors. Without the bubble, they wouldn't fit. The TR4A is powered by a 2.2-liter four-cylinder engine with reverse flow heads, a somewhat outdated yet torquey design. Mated to that 2.2-liter four-cylinder engine is a 4-speed manual gearbox. That's right, folks, no automatics on this Triumph. Now to get the car started on a cold morning, you'll need to use this manual choke. But on a warm day, or when the engine's already been running, there's no choke necessary. Now let's shut the door and go for a ride. Following up on what I said earlier, this car has been and is spectacular. And I'm surprised I'm saying that to you, because when I bought this car 5 months ago, you know, I didn't think that was going to be the case. Now that's kind of crazy to say, because who buys a car that they don't think is going to be great? But I don't think it's exactly that. The car's beautiful, and we knew that. It's a very classic design. It's, you know, one of the very recognizable cars from even the 1960s, an era with utterly gorgeous cars. But I think maybe all the stereotypes and the stories, you know, about British Leyland cars and the bankruptcy of British Leyland, the non-existence of all these brands, maybe had me believing that maybe the mechanics of the car weren't quite what, well, they just weren't good. And you know, when people say about a British car that if there's not oil under it, it means there's not oil in it. Or when they say that, you know, it's not a sports car if you don't have to work on it every night. Those types of things, you know, they get you thinking a certain way. Even when I was a kid, we used to drive by a Triumph Spitfire, me and my friend, and we thought it was beautiful. We thought the car was very cool. But even then, we wanted to take an S2000 drivetrain and drop it in it. We could fix the reliability issues and we could make the car faster. And then you move on from sort of the stereotypes, and you know, there's no air conditioning and there's disc brakes, but there's no power brakes. And you know, there's still a manual choke on it and carburetors, and you get inside and there's no power steering either. And I just thought it'd drive like an old car. I've driven cars without power steering before. They were mostly old American V8s, and they're tough. You have to be a muscle man to go around a corner, especially from a standstill, and definitely when you're taking right-hand turns at lights. That's not the case with this car. It only weighs 2,000 pounds, and that basically means that it didn't need power steering and it didn't need power brakes. Now it takes some getting used to, but once you get used to it, you start to realize that you're more connected with the car without it. And gosh, I never would have thought of that. And honestly, the driving experience out of this car is better or as good as any car I've ever driven. It's very different, but it rips around a corner. It's not fast in a straight line whatsoever, but you're sort of out in the world and you feel totally in control of the car. You feel the bumps in the road. You have to, you know, give the steering wheel some turns to get it to turn. But that's an experience in and of itself, and I just didn't expect it. Now, I bet you TR owners at home are laughing right now, because maybe you had this same experience, or maybe you just think I'm silly, because how could I have not known this? But I also bet that there's a lot of people that are like me out there that's never touched one of these cars. And I'm telling you, go find one and drive it. Go have some fun. All right. Now, with that all said, I'm actually going to get you in the car and driving now, and I'll show you what it really is like to drive the car. And oh, and by the way, for all those who noticed that my beard is gone, thank you for not saying anything about my shirt being the same. First thing you notice when driving this car is the sportiness of the clutch. It feels a lot more modern than it is. Now, I'm not saying it's a modern clutch. I don't think it is, but it's quick. It grabs. You zip right off. There's not a large pressure point where it releases the clutch. It just goes. Right after that, shifting gears, you notice how fast and quick the gear shifts are. Something that really wasn't all that common, I think, in the 60s. Certainly not in American cars that I'm used to. But the gearbox is smooth. It has synchro mesh, you know, so those synchros are working in your favor. It feels very modern, certainly as modern as transmissions that came about in the 90s or 2000s. Now, there were certain smaller cars that certainly have a better feel than this one does, but it's a good transmission. Now, the wonderful part about this car, and I think one of the things that makes the experience so great, is how open and how out in the elements you are. Right now, we have the top down, and my head is basically out of the roof. Now, I guess that's not all uncommon for a convertible, but look behind me. Behind me, there is nothing. Modern convertibles have all this shrouding back here. Maybe some of it's for safety, a lot of it's for appearance, but it disconnects you from the world. And something about the way this one's set up, where I'm just out in it, makes me feel as if I'm part of the experience more. It just makes it more real. It's really hard to explain, but it's a wonderful thing. Now, the lack of power steering on this car, we talked about it. I think it's a major concern of a lot of people when they buy an old car, but I'm just telling you that this car, you don't have anything to be concerned about. I can wiggle the steering wheel back and forth, unlike I've ever been able to do on a V8 car, for example, that didn't have power steering. It's not so hard, even at a standstill, to move it around, and you saw how I just took that turn. This car gets up and goes and takes a turn very nicely, especially for the 4-inch tires, or maybe 4.5-inch tires that it has. So very impressive all around. It all contributes to the driving experience. And, you know, I think the exhaust note of this car is such, you can hear it there. There's a back down speed of it. The exhaust note is really impeccable, and especially for a 4-cylinder, which I've never really thought had a great sound to them. This one does, and I'm not saying there's no 4-cylinders that sound good, but this one sounds great, and that contributes to the overall driving experience as well. A really, really spectacular driving experience. But here we are, another left-hand turn. Now this car was taken away in 1967, but we got other TR cars that I think drive similarly. The TR6, and Triumph and British Leyland kept on going till the mid-80s when their formula ran up and they went out of business. Now, no other cars took their place. There weren't really, maybe there was a Porsche or something like that, but there were no affordable small cars left at that point in time. And that was a real shame until the Mazda Miata came out in 1989 or so. And in 1989, we got the new version of the Triumph TR series, maybe the new version of the MG as well. And that filled the hole and still fills the hole to today. I think it's not exactly the most popular. A lot of people want a lot of horsepower, but the driving experience that comes from a car like this is second to none. And there are very few comparables today other than that Mazda MX-5. You can see how well it rips around a corner even for being this old, almost 60 years old. So I think if you like this sort of thing, you like this Triumph along with other automotive videos, you should like or subscribe, and we'll be getting more content like this. The other really great thing about this car is all the smiles, all the people that notice it. I've never driven a car that gets noticed like this one does. I think because people don't know what a Triumph is anymore, and they're curious about it. But that, you know, I drove a '69 Camaro across town, one of the more iconic cars to ever be made, and I get more smiles, more waves, more questions, more offers to buy this car than I did in that car. That's insane to me. But it's pretty cool, and it sort of puts a smile on your face, makes you feel really cool.
That's a sick car, dude. Thank you, man.
Here's a right turn for you, and you can see it's just not a hard car to drive. Certainly power steering would make it an easier car to drive. Certainly power brakes would make it an easier car to drive. But neither one of them limits the car as much as you might think. And both contribute to the driving experience overall.